Hi, it's Corto. We're going to talk more about the solar project. Today it's going to be called expectation setting and then looking at equipment. So just to be clear, my initiative started with, hey, I really like to have some power in my shed. Bringing it from the house to the shed when we were finishing our backyard was going to be very expensive. So years go by and I decided I really would like to have a light in the shed and maybe a little power tool operation. So we started thinking about some solar panels, and then we started having problems with the weather. I mean, realistically, we've had 2 or 3 tornadoes in the past few years, and then 1 tornado in the 50 years before that. We've had power outages that have lasted 4 days. So is there anything I can do with solar power that might help with that situation without installing a natural gas generator, which is like, you're looking at 10 grand for something like that, or putting a gas Honda generator in my backyard like all my neighbors did, which was really noisy. I don't need to replace the house, which would be like 30 kilowatt hours a day. I don't need that. I just need some solutions for my freezer, my router, my modem, coffee maker, and a couple of lights, enough to keep me going while we wait for things to get fixed up. So can I do any of that with solar? I think the answer is yes. So I'm going to show you what I did, and I'm going to start by taking you outside and showing you the panels. So just a sec. Okay. Now, those are Renogy 200-watt solar panels. They're not installed very fancy. They're just up there and they're installed correctly, and my roof's not going to leak and all the good stuff. The cables from those, they're serially connected, so only 2 cables end up coming into the shelter here. Those cables come down the wall and go into this box here. Grab my glasses. Okay. This box has circuit breakers in it. The one on the right is a 40 amp circuit breaker. That's where these wires connect to. That sort of serves as an on-off switch and as a circuit breaker in case some overvoltage is coming in from the panels. Those wires come out and go into my EP-Ever charge controller. It's a 40 amp, 150 volt charge controller. So the 2 cables that are going from here and into here are AWG6 cables. And then this guy's got 2 AWG6 cables coming out of it and going back into this thing to this other circuit. This circuit breaker is a 63 amp circuit breaker, and it's protecting the wires below it from anything weird coming out of that and anything weird coming up to it. So this circuit breaker will also serve as an on-off switch. These things let me isolate the panels or isolate the system from the charge controller. Down lower, we're going to pass by this inverter for a second and see these cables now. They come out of the circuit breaking box and they come down to this system with 2 cutoff switches. These are sort of me being paranoid. Down below is the batteries, and this cutoff lets me shut off all connection to the batteries. So if I turn that off, I can touch anything up here and I'll be safe, as long as I've disconnected the connection to the solar panels, because they're always delivering power. This lets me do a cutoff to the inverter, so everything can be running and charging the batteries, and I can have the inverter shut off. Normal operations would have both of these on, as they are now. The charge controller is on, sucking power from the universe and spitting it out into my batteries. This thing isn't on right now, and these are the batteries. These are 2 12-volt lithium batteries that are connected serially to convince themselves that they are a 24-volt battery. That means that this system is operating at 24 volts, and this has to be purchased to be a 24-volt inverter. So as a 24-volt system, I can't connect the 12-volt thing up to it. I need a little piece that I'm going to put on here to step it down from 24 volts back to 12 for something like my garden lights. But this box is connected to power out things. So when I come into my shed, a little button over here, turn that on, and that generates power. That establishes power coming out of the inverter. Excuse me. So the inverter is running now, and it can deliver 2,000 watts, up to 2,000 watts at a time, and it can surge to 4,000 watts. These guys have 2,400 watt hours in them. So running at full power, I only have like an hour and a half here, but I would never do that. I'd be using some watts over some time for different solutions. But that's in a power outage situation. Here, it's always generating power right now. I've turned this on, that generates power. Okay. Here's a power bar that's connected to the whole thing. There's a big halogen light. There's a circular saw. All right, this is gonna be loud. Anyways, the notion being, I can pretty much do anything with the power that's there now. Anything that you would want to do in your garage. So I'm pretty impressed. It's working like a charm. I need to learn a little bit more about how things are working and why they beep every now and then. But I'll find all that stuff out and tell you about it later. So ciao, talk to you soon.